Hello guys. So it's a 15 minute talk, and I don't know why I'm looking down on the mic. Then I'll give some time for questions. As you rightly say, my name is Nnamdi Okonkwo. I finished from UL Masters, came all the way from Nigeria, and now I'm currently working as a cybersecurity analyst. I'm proud to see one of my colleagues here also. And I would say, in no way I'm an expert in post-quantum, but I love to research and I love to know what's going on in the cybersecurity community. And I love to also try to help businesses in terms of where are we going, what should we know, what ideas do we share. And that is why I decided to present at B-Sides, because I saw the opportunity to, go deep into research, also come listen to good talks by good speakers, because B-Sides was formed from people, looking for ways where the cybersecurity can share their knowledge. And cybersecurity, while a lucky field to have, where we get to share knowledge between ourselves and to know what's going on and what we should prepare for. So post-quantum readiness for SMEs. I'll start with this basically. Chris Kobeka did awesome work in the first talk keynotes on the thermonuclear post-quantum presentation, and I'm very sure we all have an idea of where we're getting to. Quantum computing is a field that's been in works. I've watched so many videos and research of researchers where they go by there's no way this is feasible in any time coming soon. I've heard from PhD dropouts doing research on quantum computing, and they're it's a dark end because so much research is going into this, so much investments. Are quantum computers ever going to get better? Because as of research few years back, was still 4,000 qubits, and that is 19.9 million or billion away from the needed qubits to really achieve the goals for quantum computing. And it's so good that cybersecurity community is considering the effect of post-quantum and how we're going to secure and get ready for a possible Y2K event. They call it Y2Q event, yeah. So just to give you a background, the Y2K event was due to the date changes from the 90 something. It has to do with the date changes where we're shifting into the 2000 digits, and people, the government had to start preparing, because the effects could have been massive, but because of the preparation made by the community of developers and all, we're able to achieve less impact from those events. Now it's time for post-quantum computing. I'll go to the next slide. Why should we care? Not only SMEs, it's every company. The present quantum computing Shor's algorithm breaks RSA and ECC, and Grover's algorithm weakens AES. Now is the time for you to begin your planning, because attackers never stop sleeping. And I'm a defender basically. We as defenders, we should always be alert of what's going on in the environment. Harvest now, decrypt later. Your data is secured from attackers that they won't be able to get them, and wait for quantum computing to get better for them to decrypt it later on. SMEs are small enterprises, but as I say, this is not only for SMEs, it's for every one of us to be knowledgeable about, so that after today when we go back to our company or something, we could just bring up digits hey, are we actually considering the future of post-quantum computing in our company, be it financial services, healthcare, or wherever you are. The cryptography we use today, we are all familiar. I don't know if we're all familiar. There might be people who are in love with cybersecurity that are not cybersecurity experts that came for B-Sides, and that is the beauty of B-Sides. Everyone is welcome. I'm a first speaker in B-Sides Godway, and it's a privilege, and I'm really grateful. I would say the RSA and the ECC are the current cryptography that we use currently. And if I were to explain it to you, I would just say, when you communicate on the website, right? Your data is basically encrypted by these standards. It's just the easiest way I can say it. It's protected by these standards. And what we're trying to achieve, or what we're trying to know today, is there's quantum computers that operate on qubits that have the power, or supposedly have the power to achieve greater things than classical computers that we have today. They are not there yet, to be honest, but it's in works. And the beauty about technology is what we are talking about now, that we're saying that is not there yet, we in next 10 years get there. So it's good that we always prepare ahead. So the standards that are recommended by NIST are the Kerber key exchange, the dilithium signatures, Falcon, and Sphinx Plus. So how NIST choose these standards are, they go through rigorous screening, and those that pass like different stages of examinations will be cut down to these standards that were later picked. These standards were renamed into Federal Information Processing Standards. So you have the MLKM, which was Crystal Kerber. It was renamed to MLKM, which is the module lattice-based key encapsulation mechanism. It has the fifth standards of 203. The MLDSA is the Crystal Dilithium. That is the module lattice-based digital signature algorithm, which is the FIPS 204. Then the Falcon modules, the Sphinx Plus, which is the stateless hash-based digital signature algorithm, was codified to FIPS 205. Then Falcon is not yet achieved, or is not achieved, is not yet approved yet, but is hopefully to be released this year or sometime. And it has the Federal Information Processing Standard of 206. These are the standards that NIST have advised. And we know that NIST is mostly focused on the US and federal agencies. The thing is, for them to start recommending standards, for them to start looking into the impact of post-quantum computing, shows it's something they might know that we don't know, and it's something we need to be aware of, right? How is this compared to RSA? RSA involves factoring of, large numbers, right? But Kerber is lattice-based, while it is quantum safe. It has been proven to be quantum resilient to attacks by quantum computers. Hopefully that is what we know. Hopefully. We don't know what is going behind the government's, agencies. Where do SMEs struggle? In terms of budget, skills, legacy systems, and vendor lock-in, this is where we see where some companies might struggle in. But we should not panic. We should not buy into marketing hype by different products that might be brought into the market telling you about, oh, we got you, we'll keep you quantum resilient. You have to watch out for transparency as much as possible. But one good thing we should never do is to ignore the issue on ground in cybersecurity. Never ignore a current issue or a reigning topic. Our practical roadmap will be our visibility, which is our superpower as cybersecurity professionals. And if you're interested in cybersecurity, start your vendor engagement in your companies. Start looking for ways to be crypto agile. So crypto agility gives you the ability to easily switch in terms of, if NIST one day says the Kerber is weak, things change in cybersecurity. Some might get attacked, get weakened. You should be crypto agile to be able to switch easily to acceptable use standards that might come up in the future. What we should focus on first, as Chris Kobecker said in our first talk, your long-term data, the data that you're going to use for 5-10 years time, TLS, VPNs, and your public key infrastructure. The next 5 years should be about planning. Then 2030 plus you should be risk aware. You should know what data is at risk, what data is not at risk. Have you implemented the needed protections in place? The key takeaways for this 15-minute talk is that post-quantum is real and we should be aware of it. I know the AI topic is a hype, and post-quantum is also not a hype, but this is more serious in terms of, we're talking about data, we're talking about privacy, we're talking about the encryption standards that have lasted years, and we're planning to, switch from the norm to something new. Start small, plan early, and as I always say, like in cybersecurity, never ignore the issue, never ignore the problem on ground. Keep learning, keep, studying, updating yourself, reading the NIST publications, the NCSC for Europe, get in touch with cyber professionals, go to P sites, go to talks, and thank you. And I will say questions. It's my first time speaking at B-Sides, and I'm really happy that I got this amount of engagement from you guys and the audience that came in. Thanks so much for your presence. I'm happy for your questions. I had my book of study here, so hopefully your questions is inside. If it's not, let's go. We'll think of something. Yeah.
One of the slides you mentioned that symmetric crypto is resilient. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, so from my studies, the symmetric encryption is only weakened by Grover's algorithm. What we take billions of years to crack the symmetric encryption has been reduced from like many of billions to less of a billion. Like, it's still in the billions. It will take a long time for you to crack the symmetric encryption standards. It's weakened, but it's not. It's for now, NIST recommends that it's resilient, that symmetric encryption is resilient to quantum attacks for now. Yeah.
Any of these newer quantum safe algorithms available commercially? Does anyone actually? Would I go and buy one of these, or buy an implementation from a vendor that implements any of these?
Good question. So, from my studies, it's actually being implemented by mostly federal agencies, but from the publication by NIST, I think March 2025, March 2025, it is recommended that, companies can start adopting these standards, But it's always the federal agencies that, take the first step to see how well this can be adopted. Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, could you give an overview of how lattice-based encryption works?
Sorry, this is a 15-minute talk. We have to
go on. We have to move on. So we can take it in the lunch. That's all right.
Well, thanks for that question. Lattice-based encryption, right, is different from the normal mathematical approach. It deals with the lattice, kind of operation, I would say. It's really kind of, it's a study that we'll have to do later, and we can talk after lunch, as he said. But let me respect the next speaker. So, thanks so much.
Thank you.